Venezuela's government's giving Germany's ambassador 48 hours to leave the country. Daniel Martin Kriener, who went to the airport Monday to greet the return of rival leader Juan Guaido from a trip to garner support abroad. He's been expelled for interfering in the country's internal affairs. Let's cross to Berlin. Correspondent Nick Spicer. Nick, what's the latest?
Well, if I may, François, just to sort of set the context, the exact statement said that the German ambassador was being expelled, just to give you an idea of the tenor here, for behavior unacceptable for a foreign diplomat whose public role was closer to that of a politician in Venezuelan politics engaged in the conspiratorial agenda of the extremist sector of the Venezuelan opposition. So that's the force pushing him out. That's the language coming out of Caracas. Now, it led one member of parliament to say it just shows how little Nicolas Maduro understands about democracy. When it comes to the actual German government, we don't really have any official reaction beyond that of the foreign ministry, which says we're going to work with our partners on the ground. Let's remember that Germany is just one of the 50-odd countries around the world that have recognized Guaido as the de facto president of Venezuela, and Germany's traditional foreign policy, as you know, is always to consult with allies before taking a step forward, so as not to be seen as going off on an adventure of any kind.
Going off on an adventure of any kind, and it's been interesting throughout this crisis. The EU has tried to speak with one voice, and it took a little while for the Europeans to follow the lead of the US and other regional players in recognizing Guaido.
Yes, I think it did take Europe a little bit longer, but that's the nature of having 28 countries that need to decide on a policy rather than just having the White House say, hey, let's do this. It's interesting to note, as regards the German ambassador decision, that the German parliament, at the request of Die Linke, the left-wing party made up largely of former communists, actually put out an opinion on the idea of recognizing Guaido, saying it's not really borne out by Venezuelan law, and it is not necessarily clear that that is the way forward for Germany. However, the German government, that same decision paper, if you will, said that more sanctions was perfectly fine. It would be impossible, of course, for any kind of military force to be thought of. The big difference, I think, between the United States and the Europeans is that when the Americans get involved in Venezuela, there's that long history of American interventionism going back decades, if not over a century, of kicking out people like Salvador Allende in Chile and so on. It's different for Europe. They don't have that kind of baggage. So when they do speak out, even if it's with a bit of delay vis-a-vis the Americans, it is, of course, significant. And I think Juan Guaido has been publicly very grateful for the recognition by European countries that he is the acting president in their estimation.
Nick Spicer reporting live from Berlin. Many thanks for that update.